Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Thank you for tuning into another Supatease video. And in this one, I'm going to be breaking down my UI and the way that I've constructed it with absolutely no add-ons to get maximum efficiency and to get the most amount of features and to exploit everything that's available in the baseline UI. I highly recommend this UI, so that way you don't have to worry about constantly updating your add-ons, or if Blizzard's going to randomly brick your UI and then you feel like you're just like completely lost. So you just get comfortable with what is going to be allowed from this point on, and they might even add more on top of this. And as always, if you want to make sure that you stay up to date with news related to World of Warcraft and educational and entertaining content, then make sure to smash that subscribe button. So the first step to setting up your PvP UI is going to be to press escape, go into the options tab at the start. The first recommendation within all of these settings that I recommend you do is turn off sticky targeting. If you have this on, it's very bad. It makes it very tough to deselect things in order to self-heal and things like that. I recommend not playing with this enabled for PvP. For those reasons. The next setting that we're going to talk about are raid frames. So raid frames are very important. This is what I would recommend using instead of, you see my health bar on the top left is the circular icon. You can get these boxes. I think the boxes are a lot more effective and a lot more visual and display a lot more important information. So within this interface tab, you're going to want to copy these check marks. Make sure you've got display incoming heals. This is really helpful for determining the value of your next heal if you're a healer or you're off healer or whatever it is. You're going to want power bars as well. This will allow you to see how your mana situation is on your healer, whether it's you playing it or your teammate. I would recommend it. I have it turned off for only healers. You can do this if you want. I like being able to see like Maelstrom bar on my ally because I can see they've banked up a lot of damage, or if my Demon Hunter is a maximum void bar. You don't absolutely need that. You could just enable it only for healer. I don't see why it hurts, so I just have it unchecked. I have aggro highlight. This is really only PvE. It's not really going to change much. This one I recommend 1000%, which is display class colors. Otherwise everyone's the same green and it gets really annoying in order to determine like what targets are what. If you are healing, you may want pets enabled, and if you are playing a pet class, you may want pets enabled. This will put another health bar below the main focus health bars, and it'll let you know if their pet is dying, especially if you're a hunter, to use men pet. So honestly, I should have honestly had this check marked to begin with. You're going to want to show debuffs. Debuffs are very important, and I have bigger role debuffs that are specific to your role, and I have dispellable debuffs as well. So it's easier to see things that I can actually remove instead of the clutter of a bunch of other stuff. But there's still quite a lot of clutter even with this enabled, which hopefully they will find a way to deal with. I do have center big defensive. This is very important, especially if you're going from add-ons to no add-ons. This will show you when your teammate has activated a defensive cooldown right dead center in the middle of their raid frame. So I highly recommend that you have this. My dispellable debuff indicator is set to all. My dispellable debuff color as well. You can kind of turn this off. I don't know why honestly this is on. It basically changes the overlay of the health bar. I find it to be a bit egregious, a little over the top. So like you can turn it off, turn it on. It just basically turns the health bar purple if it's a hex that you can remove it if it's a decurse or something like that. This one is one that you'll have to play with yourself, and okay, don't take that literally. Play with this setting yourself in game to determine whether you actually want it. I don't have health displayed, but you can display it. You can do it based on percent, remaining, lost, whatever you want. If you want to be able to see a number, usually the data on your raid frame is just like high priority real estate, and I don't want to add more to the clutter that shows up on the raid frame, so I don't do that. For arena frames, you're going to want to make sure you have the same settings enabled here, which is power bars. This is going to show mana of enemy healer. It'll show if they've banked up a lot of resources as well to do damage, and I like the class colors. You can have the pet on. Usually I just track the pet based on where it's running around on the map, but if you want a way to actually like target it, then you can turn display pets on for the same reason as you would for wanting to heal them. And again, real estate on these frames is very, very important, so I don't have a percentage on it. Now, if you want to see those raid frames after doing those settings, you just right click your portrait, you click edit mode, and then you will see here that I don't know how to hide this window. I wish there was a way to hide it, but you'll see my raid frames are over here. And my party frames are also over here, and they have converted into these kind of block style play. Now if you want to make them bigger or smaller, you just click them and then you can go in here. I've got icon set very big, so icons will be buffs and debuffs and cooldowns. It'll let you know if your ally has like wings up or what's their their status going on. So I like the icon size really big on this. You don't really need the defensive that big. You can see that this, I don't know why they picked these icons and not real defensives, but that lightning thing in the middle will be if they press shield wall or bubble. So I have it at about here, and again, you can see how much clutter there is on this, and it can get really disruptive, so that's why I don't bother showing a number on the health bar, because basically I determine the HP based on like the top sliver of the bar, because I can't see anything else on it. There are ways to enable this to be more focused on buffs and debuffs. We're unfortunately going to avoid this queue here. There are ways to make it debuff focused and buff focused, so you can kind of like wiggle this around. This is where like some customization comes in. I don't have it. I just have it on legacy. I keep moving the wrong action bar around here, but if you do this, you can get buff focused, which just shifts where all the information is, and debuff focused, which shifts where all the information is. So if you're a healer, I think buff focused it allows you to track things like heal over time effects better. If you're debuff focused, it'll let you track dots better, type of deal. I just have it on legacy. You might want to experiment with this for your own play, but for me, I have it on legacy, and you can kind of just do all that, and I can just revert everything and just get it back where it was. And then the same thing for the arena frames over here. You can click the arena frames. You can make the icons on it bigger if you want to see their Avenging Wrath and make it bigger and things like that on the frame. You can do that, or if you want to see if they have a defensive bigger, you can do that slider there, and you can make them wider, smaller, as well with these little sliders. So that gets your kind of main focus frames between like your ally and your enemy, and those are really important components. Like those are what I'm getting, you know, a significant amount of my data from. Now, while you're in edit mode here, I think it's important that you just enable target focus, party, raid frames, and arena frames. Make sure they're check marked here on top of all the other settings, otherwise it might not pop up when you're in the game, and you'll get these weird circle things that don't give you a lot of information. I do recommend having the cast bar enabled. I do recommend having personal resource display. This is one that shows up here during the bottom. It has a bunch of new additions on it. It's really good information to make sure that you have it turned on. Your damage meter is found here as well to enable it over here onto the left. I have the cooldown manager. I don't really use it. It's just kind of there. It's just oh, actually, you want the cooldown window. Never mind, because it tracks your tracked buffs. You do need the cooldown manager. This is like, it's just tracking if you get an instant lava burst, or if you get an instant ancestor, or whatever class you're playing, obviously. I do have extra abilities enabled, but it's kind of unnecessary. If you really wanted to add some extra here as an extra box, you could. And then I think that's pretty much it for the edit modes. Now, a lot of people have been complaining because there was a main feature removed with mini CC recently. So the way to get that setting back to see like the cooldown of your enemy based on their target health bar is to go into nameplates. So you're going to want to go into nameplates. You're going to make sure enemy nameplates. I have pets on as well for this, but I don't have minor on, which is all the extra pets. I don't play with ally health bars on, but the point is that this is what the health bar will look like, an example. And these two icons on the left will be like Avenging Wrath or Precognition to see if they're immune to interrupt, or Nullifying Shroud. They show up here on the left of the target's health bar. So if you're looking at the player on the map, watch them fly in, and you'll see their icons come up, and you'll be able to track that with these icons right here, and you'll be able to see what dots you have on the target and things like that. You can make them bigger, but I would say anything bigger than 2 gets really big. Like, it gets really big, but you can make them bigger if you want. You can also make the debuffs bigger. I wish you could like separate the two and make the cooldowns on the side bigger by themselves, because those end up being like much more priority, right? Like for Avenging Wrath and Precognition, but you can't separate them at the moment. You can just make all of them bigger if you want them to. So if you're having a hard time seeing them or finding them, I know for me personally, I like things bigger just because it's easier to see. Some of the settings here is that I just play with the modern one, but this is obviously your personal choice. If you want it to look like Legacy, if you want it to look thin, if you want to look whatever you want the health bar to look like, it's going to be your own personal choice. However, this stuff I wouldn't say is optional, is to do cast bar information and make sure all of this is check marked. I think it is by default, but just in case it isn't, it just makes this unit like the core of what you're basically interacting with and what you're playing with. Wouldn't recommend aggro display for PvP because it actually changes the way the health bar looks and get a little more visually too stimulating. Make sure that all the buffs and debuffs are selected as well as shared CC, so you can tell if somebody's put something on DR for yourself. Enemy buffs, personal debuffs, and big debuff as well here with the player debuffs, and then friendly, personal buffs, enemy debuffs, and big debuffs. Just make sure everything's checked basically. You can increase the space you want if you want dots between your health bar to be higher or not. I wish again that we could separate these two further away from the target at the moment, but it's just currently not available. And I'm just trying to think if I've forgotten anything, because we kind of ran through that pretty quickly, but I don't think I have. If you don't notice your personal resource display turned on edit mode, you can search it here in the options and turn it on, because this is a very important component. The nameplates and personal resource display is like 99% of what I play with in order to track things, so that those are definitely like the highest priority. I would also recommend as a personal note, if you are playing and you are wanting to succeed, is that you disable the chat. So click on the social tab and you disable the chat. This way, no one can type any messages to you, to tilt you, whatever else. I highly recommend this, just playing without this. You can ping still. It's completely unnecessary most of the time, especially if you're just starting out. People are going to give you bad advice if they even are trying to give you constructive advice. Disabling the chat is just going to be kind of the number one way to go to. And then once you've enabled all of those settings, edit mode is your friend again for being able to move it around the screen. If you don't want things where they are, just click them and move them around. And that's given me a great experience with no add-ons so far in Midnight. Again, obviously outside of this few complaints that I have with like the raid frame being cluttered with debuffs a little bit too much, and then possibly some additional features in the damage meter being kind of bugged still, not really too useful because you can't see individual instances. Like if I click my shaman and then I click on I can't click lava burst and see how hard like an individual hit of lava burst was. That was types of information I used to like to look at. You can't do that unfortunately anymore. But that's basically the gist of it on how I set up my PvP UI. Hopefully this is helpful to you, because obviously I've been requested a lot for this, especially with them recently bricking a lot of add-ons, and who knows what they'll brick in the future. So you might just be better off getting used to it now, so you'll be playing better than the competition moving into the future. But that's it for me here in today's video. Thank you guys very much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.